So, 5 keys to becoming a high-paid fractional executive assistant, earning based on value, not just your time. And it's important, that distinction. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We're thrilled to have you here. We've packed this training with valuable insights that you can start using right away. This is not fluff. We're giving you the 5 keys and that we see based on our experience. So you're in the right place if you want to learn the difference between what a fractional executive assistant or fractional assistant is and a W-2 employee and a virtual assistant. And that difference is really important. It's important for you, your career, and how you get compensated. And you want to know how being a fractional assistant fits into your career path. You also want to maximize your earning potential and charge clients based on your resources, not on dollars per hour. Okay. You're 100% in the right place. I'm going to continue to admit people here. We're going to cover how to position yourself as a top level fractional assistant. We're going to cover how to stop trading hours for dollars and charge by resources. You're going to understand the differences between supporting clients versus supporting W-2 role of boss and what those differences are. We're also going to cover how to find and attract clients that will happily pay premium rates. And we're also going to talk about how to make this transition happen this year. So we're Stephanie and Ethan Bull. Combined, we've got 45 years of high-level EA experience. We've led teams of assistants from 6 individuals to over 80 teams. I am going to ask everyone to mute themselves. I'm hearing some... We've led teams of assistants from 6 to over 80 team members. We've founded and continue to run ProAssisting, a multi-million-dollar remote fractional EA service company, and we authored the 29-hour workday. That's an instruction manual for how to use an assistant. We've been featured in these publications that are listed at the bottom, as well as others, been on a number of podcasts. You've probably seen too much of us, maybe. I would like to do how I got started now. I'm doing this kind of as a bonus key, and you'll see why in a minute. But it's really important to understand that we all have unique stories. Everyone is unique, and our career paths are unique. And so by illustrating mine, I hope you may take some things away from it. Okay, so started on a beach in Australia. I was going to a specialty business school for college. I studied abroad. I did a lot of traveling. I played in a band in Australia as a percussionist. And while I was traveling alone for 3 weeks, I was sitting on the beach and I was contemplating, what's my next move? I'm going to this business school, and what does that look like? I actually wanted to combine what I was doing musically with business. And so I got back to the States. Senior year was coming up. I got an internship at Warner Brother Records. I worked as a marketing intern, basically an assistant, doing events, filling out, sending out marketing materials, calling radio stations, right, you name it. And through that role, I heard from Warner Brothers that they were making a movie, and it was down in New York City. The movie was called Addicted to Love, starred Matthew Broderick, Meg Ryan, Kelly Preston. And I just picked up and moved to New York City on a Sunday. On that Monday, I walked in to the building where the production office was, and I rode the elevator with Meg Ryan. Completely starstruck, blown away. But then after that, 4 months went by, and I was basically getting her lunch every day, steamed broccoli, and really doing anything and everything as a production assistant. That led to being a personal assistant, a production coordinator, a production secretary. All of those roles are being an assistant on steroids. You're working 14-hour days. You're dealing with very known, high demanding, fast paced people. And you really had to be a jack of all trades. Based on that, I ended up going to William Morris Agency, pushing a mail cart, being an agent trainee, and I was on a desk as a second assistant to the motion picture agent for Ashley Judd, Stanley Tucci, Kevin Bacon, um, and again, another step up into gaining the executive assistant title and partnering with that agent. That then led me to support the chairman of USA Films when we were making Traffic, which won the Academy Award. And at that point, without moving to Los Angeles and wanting to stay in New York, I said, look, I've done everything I can here. I actually want to be a writer director. I had those dreams. As secretly, I still have those dreams. And that kind of said to me, well, look, I can either keep working these long, long hours, high paced environment, low pay of working in entertainment, or I can change. And I did. I decided to take a job as an executive assistant at Deutsch, which was $1 billion ad agency. If you've ever worked at an ad agency, it's still a fast paced environment. And I looked at this as one, a big step up in compensation, but also the ability to work pretty much business hours and chase those dreams outside of work. The funny thing happens, though, if you're in a role for 13 years, you roll over one day and you say, I actually have a career as an executive assistant. And that process, moving from administrative assistant to executive assistant to senior executive assistant, really, and then director of admin services, kind of made me realize I had a career. And it also made me realize I had a valuable career. Then a little something happened, and Henry Bull came along in 2015. And Stephanie and I had to decide, what are we going to do? This is our second child. Do we want to jump back into being paying for a nanny and working our two high-level EA roles to pay for this bundle of joy, this new bundle of joy, making us a family of four? And we decided to leave New York. We decided to sell our condo and buy a house in my hometown. And yes, I was that person who said I'd never move back home and take a risk. And the one thing we knew is that we could get a job as an assistant. We didn't know what level or what that would look like. And then fortunately, I ended up getting a role. I was actually poached and recruited to work for the CEO of Rochester Regional Health, $1 billion ad or healthcare network, 16,000 employees. I served the CEO and I was also his director of admin services. And this encapsulates a lot of people's assistant career at many different levels. You're moving industries, you're moving roles. And then for me, I rolled over and said, I actually have a career. And all of this led to six-figure salary, actually high job satisfaction, actually playing a role, seat at the table, um, leading teams, having large events and projects, being a true business partner, and for the last 6 years, owning a fractional EA service business. And that's really the focus for today. And I think all of you can get a lot from our experience doing that. But this really, the big takeaway here is that the skills transition. The role moves with you. The story is yours. And it's very powerful knowing that what we do is a trade, and knowing that, you know, we're basically industry agnostic, principal agnostic, and now, thanks to the internet, location agnostic. You can only connect the dots looking back. Steve Jobs, I really like this quote, and that kind of encapsulates how I view my career. I really didn't take into account all of those different steps as they were happening, but it has had a profound effect on me. Stephanie's career has had a profound effect on her. And together, it's had a profound effect on our family. Now, we're going to do a quick history lesson. This is the most important history lesson that you will ever get if you want to be a fractional assistant. So you could even say this is bonus key number 7. The year was 2007. Virtual assistants are born. Now, I know that virtual assistants were born pre 2007. Okay. I knew I know virtual assistants who've been doing this since 1997, but 2007 is a pivotal year. It's a pivotal year because the iPhone was introduced, and this kind of democratized the BlackBerry aspect of being able to work from anywhere. Waiting in line for your Starbucks coffee, you could send an email, move a meeting, and call a person, all on the same device. Now, what that also brought in was the app economy, and how apps and then Android kind of was starting the process of it not mattering whether you were on a PC or Mac. And that allowed virtual assistants to do work. It didn't matter what the tech platform was. And then you have this man. And this man, if you guys don't recognize him, is Tim Ferriss. And Tim Ferriss wrote The 4-Hour Workweek. And this is kind of the pivotal moment why I peg 2007 as the year virtual assistants are born, because one of the thesis in his book is that you can hire an overseas virtual assistant for $5 an hour to run your $1 million internet business. And that success of the book kind of set a floor in terms of what the virtual assistant space is. And it's kind of important to realize that the company, Belay, acknowledged that floor of $5 an hour overseas assistance and built their business model based on how inexpensive can we get the support that clients would purchase to help them with their business. Where is that line? And Belay launched in 2010, and they, being new, and Twitter was new, they got some publicity and a light shined on them from a celebrity. I think it was a music star or a rap artist. And the company blew up. And I give them a ton of credit for forging the path. And, the company has since been taken over by private equity. And the last figures that the founders gave was that it was a 9-figure lifetime revenue company, meaning over $100 million in revenue. And then, since then, more companies have come along. It's just natural business. Now, in 2017, while I was at Rochester Regional Health, an opportunity presented us. A friend of Stephanie's knew a Fortune 100 consultant who needed support. She didn't need full time. She was location agnostic. She knew the value of high level support, and she couldn't find part time anywhere. And so that led us down the road of research. And we got a little angry when we looked at the virtual assistant space and how it operated. Belay was definitely someone we were looking at, but also some others. And, these companies, they wanted to partner, at least me specifically, with 8, 10, 12 clients a month. They wanted to pay me $18 a month in 2017. And I would be an independent contractor. It irked us to where we said, look, there's a gap here. Any executive assistant making north of $65,000, $70,000 a year is not going to go and work for one of these companies. You just can't do it. They can't meet their lifestyle and what their family needs on that level of compensation. So our model focused on what we saw work with teams of assistants. And a lot of times that was a 3-to-1 executive to assistant ratio. And we wanted to charge by resources and not dollars per hour, because as top level executive assistants, we understand that there's value in that trust that we have with our clients, that there's value in the efficiency that we gain. There's value in our experience going back years or decades. There's value in the exclusivity and the legacy knowledge, that, and all of that falls outside of time. And we wanted to compensate EAs appropriately with rules of the road. And this is our success. And we're very proud of this. We have more than 70 clients. We have more than 30 pro assistants. We're currently more than $2 million a yearly recurring revenue. And over the last 6 years, we've paid out more than $6.3 million to our pro assistants since inception. And there is great pride in those numbers. And it's also done something else, though. It proves that working as a fractional executive assistant could be your path to earning more, remote work, benefits of working fractionally, more freedom in career direction, and optionality. And having the tool in your toolkit to be able to make a switch from a full-time W-2 employee to a fractional executive assistant is very valuable. I'll leave it at that. So the opportunity, if you want flexibility and be compensated on your value versus your time, you want to think fractional. You want to work fully remote doing what you do? Fractional. You want a true partnership with a principal who views you as a peer? You want to think fractional working for clients. When you work for a client instead of a boss, inherently the power difference gets more equal. You want to match your city compensation with your desired rural small town future location, like what Stephanie and I did? Fractional. You want the opportunity to grow a business beyond yourself, which is what we've done with ProAssisting. You want to think fractional. There's never been a better time. Fractional client support services, frankly, they're all the rage. And we'll get into some more numbers later. Small and medium-sized business, they're starting to value their time. Those owners are starting to value their time more than money. And they're always being told to work on their business instead of in their business. What gets you there? An assistant. Any business that an entrepreneur or business owner is building to sell, they're going to need someone that they can pass along to whoever buys the company, who knows the standard operating procedures, acts on those procedures, is that single point of contact that lives beyond the owner. That's the assistant. We know that. They're trying to get themselves out of the business. So you may be thinking, where would I find clients? How am I supposed to make this transition? How am I supposed to sell myself? And what I do? I could really move out of the city and my comp won't go down. AI is going to replace assistants. So why are we having this conversation? This sounds too good to be true. We hear this every day. We're going to try and put those fears to rest. So let's dive in. Key 1, experience-based positioning. Positioning determines which prospects pay attention to you and which ones you attract. So the positioning of something, let me pull something out of the air, is, of Coca-Cola is different than the positioning of fuzz soda. It just is. And that can give you an idea of what we mean when we say positioning. So which are you? Are you an administrative assistant? Are you an executive assistant, a senior executive assistant, an executive administrator, operations manager, chief of staff, director of administrative services? Your current title is where your positioning begins. And by thinking of your positioning cloaked over your career, you're getting a huge leg up. Why? You're getting a leg up because your positioning is determined by your story. And from the prospect's perspective, they can look at your resume or your LinkedIn profile and see your role that you had for the last 3.5 years. They have an idea of how that role could help their business. They can align value to your cost, and your cost is justified by your experience. Any business owner who's worth working for or client can't look at an executive assistant's experience knowing they're being paid more than $85,000 a year and want them to work for $30 an hour. It just does not compute. They also get the ability to mine your experience. And you can say that to them. My experience has given me all of this detailed knowledge and information that I can impart on you and your business. And they're comfortable in knowing you've done this. From your perspective, you know you're the expert. You know the business benefits that you provide. Your expertise, it's easier to beat back imposter syndrome. That's a huge one. Being able to beat back imposter syndrome by thinking of your experience. Company X was just paying me $95,000 a year for the last 4 years. Of course, I know what I'm doing. And this provides a framework for how to express that value to prospects. And it gives you confidence in your pricing. So key 2, dollars per hour versus resource-based pricing. There are many options available. There are offshore VAs, onshore VAs, independent VAs, many different pricing models. There's virtual executive assisting. So what this offers you is an opportunity to educate. You need to take that story on the history of where the virtual assistant came from and tell it. Explain why. Low comp, high number of clients, inexperience, assistant turnover, slow communication. And then you get to tell your story and you say, look, I'm experienced. This is what I've done. I'm doing this for clients instead of bosses. You want to explain the benefits of your resource-based pricing. And there are many. It promotes long-term partnerships. We have clients at ProAssisting who've been with us since we launched. They pay month after month, year after year. They have a great partnership. I'll tell you something. One of the main reasons that we land clients who used to work at virtual assistant agencies is because every 2, 3, or 6 months, the assistant would change. And they want to know why. And I'd say, well, do you know how much the assistant was being paid? And they'd say, yeah, I paid the company $55 an hour. I'm like, no. How much was the assistant being paid? They say, I don't know. I'm like, well, average is probably $24 an hour as an independent contractor. And they don't want to go through constant onboarding, new assistant. The consistent compensation of resource-based pricing, it's consistent for the client. It's just a line item, direct line item write-off, and it's consistent for you, the assistant, so you get to just focus on the work. Your low number of clients, daily attention on the client's business. You are encouraged to find efficiencies. If you were paid by the hour and something took 4 months or 4 hours a month, and 4 months later, you could do it in 3 hours a month and you were paid by the hour, where's the benefit in becoming efficient? You'll be decreasing your hours, making less money, doing the same work for the client because you've learned how to do it and do it faster. 173.33 hours per month. That is Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, average monthly hours of working. Now, I'm going to tell you a big secret here. This is the one figure we are not putting on our website when we talk to clients. And that figure is 50 hours per month. That means 50 hours per month for 1/3 the resources of an assistant for $3,000. Now, we don't share hours with clients, but internally we do track. And I'll get to that in a minute. I know there's a tension. And so you add it up, 50 times 3 is 150 hours per month. But that is, in our mind, full resourced for an assistant. So there is a benefit there to you, the assistant, if you're providing value, that your hourly rate's going to go up and down every month. So, but you get consistent compensation and you know you're working a maximum of 150 hours a month. So let's look at some examples. We've got Julie. She's an administrative assistant. She's currently making $52,500 a year. Her VA rate would be, if she broke out on her own, she thinks $25 an hour. At a VA company, it'd probably be 22. Number of clients, 5 to 10 a month. And at that $25 an hour, based on 2,000 hours, not 2,080, which is 52 weeks, just based on 50 weeks, 2,000 hours, that $45K, she has to work every one of those hours. And the likelihood of her filling 2,000 hours per year with client work is hard. It's rare because you have clients increasing and decreasing the amount of hours they use you on a monthly basis. Whether clients leave or come, it changes. As a fractional administrative assistant with resource-based pricing, she could say, okay, I'm going to break myself up into 4, 25% resources at $1,500 a month. I'll get 4 clients. There's $72,000 a year consistently. And it's not connected to time. Allison, an executive assistant, making $92 a year. VA rate, she'd probably peg hers at $35 an hour because maybe there's some imposter syndrome coming in, or, she's never done this before, worked with clients. She'd get 24 at a VA company. She'd be at 70,000 if she worked the full 2,000 hours. That's a big if. So she says, hey, look, ProAssisting's doing this. I could charge 3,000. I'll take on 3 clients. I'll get 108,000 a year. It's not connected to time, consistent monthly compensation. And yeah, our assistants come to us to work with ProAssisting, and they'll give us 20% of that because they don't want to deal with the marketing and the sales and the whatnot, and the agreements and the insurance and all of that. But I got news for you. Any executive assistant can leverage our model for themselves. And I think that's great. We have a number of assistants who have clients with us and clients outside of us, and we encourage that. Then you have Elizabeth. She's a senior executive assistant. She's making $123,000 a year. She's, she'd put her rate at $50 an hour. How could I charge more than $50 an hour? She's $28 at a virtual assistant company. At the $50 rate, she'd be at $90K a year if she filled all 2,000 hours. And on resource-based pricing, someone with her experience in the tech space, she could say, look, you get half of me for $6,000 a month. How amazing would it be for a startup CEO to get this talent of assistant for $72,000 a year as a line item write-off, not employee, no benefits. She's an independent contractor. She gets 2 clients. She's making $144,000 a year. Consistent monthly compensation, not connected to time. That's the secret. Differences between a W-2 role and partnering with clients. There are big differences. And these differences are difficult for assistants to understand, because assistants will turn around and say, I just got to get the work done. I'm just going to do it. And that's not, you need to internally know what your own rules of the road are and how you'll work with clients versus a W-2. As a W-2 employee, they get all of you and they can demand, I need you in this. You have to be in this meeting. You need to take on this new principal, this new executive to support. You get no income diversification. You get employment benefits, which is great. They'll pay for your healthcare. They'll give you PTO. They'll pay you for your parking spot, what have you. But they know they get all of you, and they don't think about your time. They just demand it, which I understand. They're paying you a salary, no doubt about it. As a fractional assistant, each client only gets a fraction of you. They know they're not getting all of you, but you must track your time. And this is that tension I was speaking about. Internally, you have to know how long it's taking you to do something, or how much effort and time you're sitting at your desk working for a client. And you also need to figure out, how much do you want to give? And what does that look like? The secret and the trick is being able to explain to a client why they should not worry about time. You've got it. You're providing the value. You have income diversification based on your clients. You get business owner benefits. You have to have health insurance on your own. Yes, that's a big hurdle and something you need to consider. But you get major benefits around the likes of, writing off expenses and home office, and huge benefits in terms of saving for retirement. You have the ability to say no as well. If a client or a prospect comes up to you and wants you to shift or do something different, you can say no. You can't share who else you're working with, and there's a benefit there. There are many benefits to the client, and they're willing to pay for them. And that's what I think a lot of assistants who are breaking out working for clients lose sight of. And you're providing full service support based on their needs. Key 4, attracting clients happy to pay your rate. Mindset of career confidence goes back to that experience-based positioning. You know you're adding value, and you have a salary history to prove it. You are doing the work. This is huge. When you are talking to a prospect or your network, and someone in your network has actually worked with you, they're going to go off and vouch for you, because they're like, I worked with Allison. She's fantastic. I can't believe you can get 33% of her for $3,000 a month. It's a steal. Ability to say no. As I said, you'll have prospects coming to you saying, I really need someone to deal with my CRM for, 4 hours a day. And you say, that's just not me. I don't do that. This is what I do. You can see it on my LinkedIn profile. You see it on my website. Legitimate scarcity. When you're working fractional, you say, look, I have 2 clients. I'm taking on 3 total. That fills me up. I've got 1 spot left. Do you want that or not? And that is the easiest way to get someone to say, well, I don't want to lose this. Of course, sign me up. Desire for long-term partnership. It's both in your benefit and the client's. Key 5, get started now. There are some people probably on this call right now who don't have a job, and because it is tough out there right now. And I get that. And this is something you can stand up in a week or less. If you put head down, full focus on it, you can do all this, but that's not the optimal way to do this. Now is the time to start, because you need to give yourself time to be strategic when making this shift. You want to make sure your personal life is aligned with this transition. That is so important. You want to think in terms of fractional. And the sooner you align your mindset with that, the easier it is to start, the more you will learn by just, it's kind of like, oh, I never seen that car before. And then cars like that just keep popping up in your life. Well, you're thinking about the fractional right now. You're going to see it on LinkedIn. You're going to see other people talk about it. Even if you have a full-time role, networking now around quote unquote, something I'm thinking about doing, have those conversations, reignite your network with, hey, can I grab 15 minutes? I'm thinking about doing something. I just want to bounce it off you. It's reinforcing your story, your learnings, and your network. And the fractional landscape is still new and continues to grow. So some figures. Fractional is mentioned 140,000 profiles last year. It's a 46% year over year increase, and it's slightly going down, which is a good thing. So you may say, why? Well, why is that a good thing? Well, there's a lot of people out there who will jump on the bandwagon and say, yeah, I'm going to jump on this fractional bandwagon, kind of like how everybody jumped on the AI bandwagon, and say, but they don't know how to position properly, charge accordingly, land clients, and deliver results. That's why we in this training just today is giving you a huge leg up. Bonus 6, I'm actually going to include a bonus. Today's business mindset, okay? Caution is the new normal. Principals are hesitant to commit to a full-time EA, but they know they need one. The do less with more mandate. A fractional EA can deliver 80% the impact of a full-time hire at 30 to 50% of the cost. That is being efficient, especially if a company has raised money institutionally. Being able to go back to their advisor and say, yeah, I got an executive assistant. They're like, whoa, that's too expensive. And they'll say, no, it's fractional. I'm only paying $3,000 a month. I'm only paying $1,500 a month. I'm only paying $6,000 a month. They'll be like, whoa. Short-term flexibility with long-term thinking. They can allow their business needs to be met in the moment and grow with the business. So let's recap. Understanding experience-based positioning. Your experience is the key to what you're going to charge, the services you're going to provide, and how you're going to do it. Resource-based pricing is better than dollars per hour. No doubt about it. The power should be back in the assistant's hands, not the client. We care more about our assistants than we do our clients. Know the difference between being a W-2 and a fractional assistant. These differences are what is an additional component to also knowing the history of the VA space that you're going to use to speak to prospects and show them. You can attract clients who are happy to have your support. You're going to start before you need it, so you're prepared, and you want to understand today's business mindset. Most assistants want to know that they have high-level EA knowledge. There are so many administrative assistants out there who are doing executive assisting work, and there are a lot of long-term EA assistants out there who are actually only doing the work of an administrative assistant. So you're on this call right now because you're the former, not the latter. And that's what my gut is telling me. You want to know that what you're doing and what you're being asked is reasonable. You want to know what's next in my career. What other options do I have? You want to get direct, confidential, and honest guidance delivered with empathy and care. You want support from EAs like Stephanie and myself who've supported the CEOs of billion-dollar organizations. That's the pinnacle. Ultra high net worth individuals, multiple estates, private jet air travel, dealing with household staff, all of it. And you want to know that you can leverage and have the option to leverage your experience as a fractional assistant. So what would this mean for you? The confidence, leaving no stone unturned with your career. The optionality of knowing you've got options. Career fulfillment. And a business ownership opportunity. And when we say business ownership, that scares a lot of assistants. Oh my God, I could never own my own business. Not true. When you think of experience-based positioning, the jump from being an employee to a fractional assistant based on that experience is small. It's a significant jump, but it's a small jump. It's not being an EA and then jumping to being a franchise owner of a salad shop. That's not what this is. So with all of that in mind, we built a program that will give you the tools, strategies, and confidence to lean into this fractional world as an assistant, whether you're an administrative assistant, an executive assistant, even a chief of staff. If you are a project manager right now and you want to think about how to position and put yourself in the market as a fractional project manager, this training will do that. We do get laser focused on the executive assistant role, though. So it's the ProAssisting Academy, the fastest path to becoming a top level EA, building your fractional support business.